Hello to the viewers of Gnostic channel. Today, I would like to share with you a new sequence to our series that we have started on astrology and self-knowledge. As we talked about in the first videos, Gnostic astrology aims to help people get to know themselves better and to develop their virtues, as well as work on their weaknesses, their debilities, and their defects. So today we're going to talk about the sign of Scorpio, which is a very controversial sign, full of mysteries, of magnetism. It is a sign that much is commented about. There are certain stereotypes about Scorpio, and today we're going to try to give a deeper and more psychological view of this sign. The sign Scorpio is ruled by the planet Mars and the planet Pluto. Mars is the ancient ruler, according to classical astrology, and in modern astrology, it's Pluto. These two planets have a very intimate and very interesting relationship, because the planet Mars is the planet of force, of struggle, of energy, of initiative, of war. And the planet Pluto is Mars in a higher octave. That is to say, Pluto represents power. It represents the force directed towards a goal, the force channeled in cases of more evolved and spiritually developed people. In these cases, that force is channeled towards self-knowledge to reveal the truth. Pluto in mythology represents the abyss, or hell. It represents the hidden dimensions of the subconscious. So to reveal Pluto means to reveal our own psyche. And Scorpios have a very close relationship with these planets. They are ruled by this planet, by Mars, so they're willing to apply a lot of energy towards self-knowledge. It is a sign that has a lot to do with transformation, with regeneration, which are themes that will be present throughout the life of Scorpios. They are very strong and resistant because they already come prepared to go through many crises. Because without the crisis, without the descent, without the problem, without that difficult situation, certain abilities or capacities of the person do not emerge. That is why when the person goes through these problems, we must interpret that as a chance for self-development, because that problem will cause aspects that we need to overcome, and we will have to develop in order to solve that problem. So I would say that this is perhaps the main theme of the sign of Scorpio, taking advantage of emotional crises, since it is a sign ruled by Mars and the element water, which is quite emotional. That is to say, just as water boils, emotions boil, as they go through crises to reach the maximum power, because Scorpio is the sign of power. But the greatest power is not to dominate others, which can happen in cases where people of this sign don't develop that superior aspect of this sign and channel it in a negative way. They may want to use their magnetism and power to dominate other people, to impose their version of the truth, and to bewitch people, since the Scorpion is so famous for having that enigmatic look and for exercising that aura of mystery intentionally. Sometimes Scorpios keep things. They hide things because they know the effect they're going to have on other people, for they are born psychologists, because it is the sign of deep knowledge of the psyche, because it is ruled by Pluto. So the Scorpio knows people in an intuitive way, and they can use that power to dominate, or they can use that power to regenerate themselves, to transform themselves and others. Their greatest power, which is born out of self-knowledge, is that who takes dominion of themselves, and that is the greatest challenge for all Scorpios. To exercise their power, to exercise their magnetism, to exercise their strength, because it is perhaps the most resistant sign of the zodiac. The day that everyone else throws in the towel, it is the Scorpio who will stand firm and dig deeper. They like that because they were made for that. They were made to know how to descend to the bottom of the well and rise again, with the knowledge acquired from the darkness. So it is a very interesting sign in that regard, because it represents light in darkness. It represents the wisdom that is extracted from error, or learning that is extracted from error. This is precisely because it is ruled by Mars and Pluto, which gives an impulse to know the truth, and that impulse, like everything in astrology, can either be channeled positively or negatively. If a person of the sign of Scorpio channels this negatively, analyzes things too much, the famous Scorpio trait of paranoia develops, and they begin to want to discover a hidden truth in everything, in everyone, and in every situation. This brings the person to invent things in their mind. Could that person have had another intention behind what they said? Could it be this? Could it be that? This is because Scorpios love to unveil mysteries. They are the detectives of the zodiac. When they perceive a mystery, they want to dive in and get to the deeper truth of it. This can turn into paranoia because, as they like to have the power or control of the situation, they will always be careful if they have someone around who is threatening to take away their power or take them out of a position of control. Control is also an important word in this sign. Scorpios must learn to control themselves before wanting to control or manipulate other people. And in their search for truth and for their deeper meaning of things, if it is channeled positively, Scorpios are very truthful people, very sincere people, and authentic people. Things are black or white for them, because they are very intense. The water element governs the depths of the emotions, and with intense planets governing that sign, when the Scorpio likes something, they love it deeply, and when they do not, they detest it, even people. This leads us to the characteristic of the Scorpio in relationships. They look for transformative relationships, and they do not like lukewarm relationships, where everything is always fine. They generally like to know the other person very deeply and give of themselves completely, and they expect the same from the other person, from their partner, that there is a connection of souls, a connection of absolute fidelity and absolute commitment. That is why Scorpios have the reputation of being possessive and jealous, and even distrustful at times. Because the Scorpio, as they give of themselves deeply and give everything of themselves when they believe in a relationship, they have carefully examined all the angles and they consider that person to be trustworthy. They then give themselves with all their heart and soul. They also imagine and expect the other person to do the same thing. As this is a notion of fidelity, an ethic of fidelity very well established in the mind and in the heart of Scorpios, because they expect you to act in the same way. Not only in love relationships, but in any relationship in society, the Scorpio places their trust after reflecting and analyzing a little more. After doing their research, they place their trust, and they hope that the other person also places their trust in them, and that is governed by the same value system of extreme fidelity, of extreme loyalty. Scorpio is a very deep sign, very intense, as I said, very much all or nothing, 100% yes or no. Scorpios can learn a lot from their opposite sign, which is Taurus. In other videos, we talk about the dichotomy because it is very interesting to see what is missing from each sign, which is precisely what the complementary sign has. For example, what Taurus has to teach Scorpios is that Taurus is tranquility and stability, love, harmony, and peace. Exactly what Scorpios need to learn from Taurus. To value the lack of problems, the absence of crisis, not to be so dramatic, and not to take everything so seriously, which sometimes ends up transforming something into a drama that doesn't need to be a drama. Taurus is a sign characterized by tranquility in all situations, even though on the inside they may be suffering. Taurus is a sign that values maintaining harmony, and Scorpios need to learn to value maintaining harmony, Because even if they are made with that strong armor to resist all of the ups and downs of life, those ups and downs and all the crises also generate a lot of suffering, and in some cases unnecessary suffering. And the person ends up experiencing drama after drama, always finding themselves in emotionally complicated situations. When a Scorpio begins to analyze, they can finally discover that it is their own attachment to things that is causing themselves to suffer. For example, their own fear of being betrayed is due to their own paranoia and their will to always be in control of the situation and to always have the power. When the Scorpio conquers that Taurus tranquility, they hand things over to God and to the universe, confident that everything will turn out well, and they begin to live with a certain lightness, thus being able to manifest to the maximum their insight, their deep mind, their ability to know other human beings, and to understand situations without misinterpreting things, without automatically seeing the negative side. When this happens, Scorpios are as intuitive and as clever as I have mentioned. They over-exaggerate someone's intentions, and if they don't care for themselves, they can easily begin to see the dark side of things or think that people always have ulterior motives, that they are hiding things, which is not always the case. So, I hope you liked our video. You can visit our Facebook page and also visit our website, where you will find various materials as well as the locations where you can attend live Gnosis classes. Sending everyone a very warm hug.